It's Ben here from Wrestling Live. I thought I'd just come at you with some thoughts from WrestleMania 41. It's in the bag. 8 hours plus of wrestling, and that's not including the pre-shows, the press conferences, and all the other stuff that surrounds WrestleMania. Just the pure show is done and dusted. I watched it last night and again this morning. I am way too old and long in the tooth to stay up past midnight these days to watch these shows live. And with Netflix, you don't need to anyway. It's all there ready for you. So last night and this morning, I watched night 1 and night 2 back to back. And it was really interesting because obviously a year ago, I was there in Philadelphia for WrestleMania story when a certain son of a plumber finished a story. And 12 years on, here we are watching it on TV once again, as WrestleMania has always been for me, apart from that 1 year. And I had a lot kind of expectations going into this year. I didn't feel that the card on paper stacked up compared to WrestleMania 40, but I was very excited about some of the matches and storylines going into the show. And so it's done and dusted. I'll say this to you now, if you haven't seen it yet, there's going to be a lot of spoilers coming up. So now will be a good time to turn off. But let's dive into it, shall we? So these are my opinions, and as always, I would love to hear what you have to say. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? These are just my thoughts as a long-time wrestling fan and someone who's watched a lot of WrestleManias now. Opening contest, Jey Uso and Gunther. I'll be controversial. I hated this. I absolutely hated this. I had absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Jey Uso was going to walk away. There's no way that storyline had been told so impeccably. It was so clear from the moment he won the Rumble that we all knew Jey Uso was walking out of WrestleMania as champion. What I didn't like was the way the finish went down. And I haven't read anything online to see what other people think about this. It's just me. But Gunther has been built up so perfectly as this unstoppable monster. There's been very, very few wrestlers that have been booked so wonderfully and consistently as Gunther. To have Jey Uso match him move for move, hit power bombs and make him tap out like that, I just felt personally like that was such a kind of devaluation of that character. I get the story being told in terms of Jey Uso has to go in strong. He has to start off. You can't have Gunther slipping on a banana peel and Jey Uso becomes champion, because we need him strong as the new face of the world heavyweight champion. But there's other ways to do it. And for me, that finish just really, really tainted Gunther. And it's going to be really interesting to see where we go from here. Are we now ready for the Gunther babyface turn? It's been talked about a lot. Is it time for him to turn face? Is this the start? Is this the start of a long-term feud with Jey Uso over that title where he's the challenger rather than the champion we've become so used to? But for me, as an opening match of Mania Night 1, that match missed the mark entirely. I didn't love it. Sorry. New Day versus the War Raiders for the World Tag Championship. Of course, that went again the way that we all thought it would go. I do like this new iteration of the New Day. I mean, it's hard to get excited about the New Day, but winning the tag team titles, given that I think this was reign number 12. But I do like it, and I like Kofi as a heel especially. I've always rated the War Raiders. I think they are fantastic. So much untapped potential there. And this did the job. I think, did it need to be on WrestleMania? No. But is it great to see, a team like the War Raiders getting a WrestleMania moment? Absolutely. So I had no issue with it. It's got that difficult kind of second match of the night vibe to kind of get over. So, fair play to them. Good to see the New Day as champions again. And let's see where that heel run goes with them. Next on the card was Jade Cargill versus Naomi, which is the first time, I think, in about 20 years that there was a women's match which actually didn't have stipulations attached to it or a title at stake. So fair play to them for building a storyline which could actually culminate at WrestleMania. Now, of course, going into this, a lot of us were worrying, would Jade Cargill be able to pull this off? She was so well protected in AEW. She was such a strong star and such a marketable star. And then she obviously didn't get off to the best start in WWE with some missteps and stumbles. So this was the litmus test. Can she, with a very safe pair of hands like Naomi, pull off a match and come out strong? And the answer was a resounding yes. I think we can confidently say that was the best match that Jade Cargill has had under the WWE umbrella so far. She looked like a star. Naomi did a beautiful job in the heel role. Obviously, we knew who was going to win going in. There was no doubt about that. And now we can see whether WWE can tap into that and really start to harness that star power that was so evident with Jade when she had her long run as TBS champion in AEW. So I'm excited to see what comes next. And I was personally let out a sigh of relief as someone who wants to see people do well. I let out a sigh of relief that it went without a hitch and that Jade got a really good show in there. So I'm excited to see what's next for Jade. Also excited to see what's next for Jacob Fatu, who in match number 4 got the win over LA Knight. Again, not a surprise to anyone. I think going in, he had US champion written all over him. Jacob Fatu, for me, is the undeniable star of the latest iteration of the Bloodline. I think he's incredible. He's got such charisma. If he's not headlining WrestleMania within the next 2 years, I will be stunned, to be honest, because he is incredible. He just has it. And that match delivered the goods. I do wonder what's next for LA Knight. I remember last year being in Philly thinking, like, if they don't push the button on him very, very soon, they missed the trick. A year on, we're still there, and it's a little more than a year. And I do wonder where he goes from here. Maybe a heel turn. Do we need a fresh coat of paint on LA Knight? I'm not sure. But for me, something's missing there, and they need to address that now, WWE, going forward with LA Knight to recapture that magic and that connection with the audience that was so strong a year and a half ago. But Jacob Fatu, congratulations. We've seen many Hall of Famers start off with US title runs, so great launch pad for him. Really interested to see where things go in the dynamic between him and Solo Sikoa, and very excited for his future. 2 other great talents who had a lot of fun in match number 5 of night 1 was, of course, El Grande Americano and a debut in Rey Fenix in terms of debuting on the grand stage of WrestleMania. And it's incredible to me, like, Penta's had such an amazing run so far. Almost felt like Rey Fenix coming over was a bit of an afterthought, yet Rey Fenix stole show after show after show in AEW. So to see him on the stage of WrestleMania was such a beautiful moment, and I loved this match. I mean, Chad Gable, who may or may not be under the El Grande Americano mask, let's see. But Chad Gable's just a generational talent. He's phenomenal, and I'm so excited to see where this goes from there. I liked the fact that it ended with a bit of chicanery, a bit of old school heel mannerisms. I love all that stuff, and I'll be really excited to see what they do next. So fair play to them. Solid match. We're given 8 minutes to work. I'd like them to see them to go longer, but obviously with this new acquisition of AAA, which was the huge news coming out of WrestleMania weekend by WWE, this is only the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we're going to see and how much the likes of Rey Fenix and Penta are going to be exposed on that WWE stage. And I am here for it, ladies and gentlemen. I was also there for Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. Probably one of the hottest feuds going into WrestleMania this year. One that kind of caught us all by surprise by how heated it got, how quickly, and how it blurred the lines between a work and a shoot. I loved this match. I liked this match. I didn't love it. Something for me was slightly off, but I did enjoy it. There was no question that the 2 worked their absolute socks off. The best competitor won, shall we say, out of that. I think Charlotte coming back at the Rumble and winning against such an emerging and strong star as Tiffany would have been wrong. I'm sure that losses down the line. This is not the end of the road for Charlotte Flair on her quest for the title. I'm sure we're going to see rematches between these 2 because there's magic between them. But on the grand stage, I'm really happy that it was Tiffany Stratton who got her arm raised in victory. And then main event time of night number 1. Triple threat: Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. And just how amazing was it to see CM Punk get his WrestleMania main event moment? You could just see the elation on Paul Heyman's face when he gave him a little kiss on the forehead and was like, yeah, you did it. It's taken 20 years, but you did it. He was a Paul Heyman guy from day one, and as someone who has followed Punk's journey for so long, I felt genuinely quite emotional seeing that. And I know it wasn't the world title match that we'd all love to see him in, and there is the discussion about night 1 and night 2, and which is the real Mania. And I think we all know, obviously, night 2 is much more of a stacked card and there's more at stake, but still very special. And going in, there was a bit of a question: why is this the main event beyond giving CM Punk his top billing? And the answer, of course, comes at the end. Beautiful heel turn from Paul Heyman. He said last year in his Hall of Fame speech that there was much more to come, and here we go. Paul Heyman back as a heel manager where he belongs. I think the combination of him and Seth Rollins will be absolute magic. I think the Seth Rollins character has been crying out for some rejuvenation. Really, really excited to see what they can do. Really excited to see the dynamic between Roman Reigns, Punk, and Seth Rollins, where we go from here. This match was just gold. This was 3 workers at the very top of their game in a WrestleMania main event, doing everything they possibly could to one-up one another. I loved it. I said for years how fantastic I think Roman Reigns has been in carrying the company, and once again he just proved what an incredible talent he is. So I loved this match. I loved the finish. I loved the storytelling. Perfect way to end night 1. And I think, where would I rate night 1 on a whole? I would give it a solid kind of 3 out of 5. I guess my only kind of feedback would be really that it didn't feel that much like the grand stage of WrestleMania. And I think, it's something we need to be mindful of with, the 2-night SummerSlam coming up, obviously the Royal Rumble being in Saudi. We're getting so used to these huge super shows that it's very, very hard now in our minds to think this is WrestleMania. Beyond all the other shows, and I think WWE's got their work cut out for them to make WrestleMania as special as it needs to be over and above all the other ones. Also, I'd be remiss in not mentioning the Hall of Fame inductees who appeared on stage. We were missing Lex Luger, but Lex Luger's speech was just beautiful, and as someone who's had the honour to interview Lex on this show and get to know Lex personally, I can attest to what DDP said. He is genuinely the humblest man I've ever met in wrestling, and it brought me so much joy to see him inducted into the Hall of Fame and standing up for it as well. I also loved Michelle McCool's speech. I thought that was absolutely beautiful. I loved all the Undertaker's speech as well. I loved the banter between them too, but I thought that the message in Michelle McCool's speech was beautiful. I'd have liked to have seen Bret and Steve get much longer. The fact that Bret Hart, Steve Austin, and CM Punk got about 5 minutes on stage was farcical, and to see them kind of come out the next night and just stand there without any pomp and ceremony felt off to me. You've got 2 of the biggest stars of all time there to celebrate the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, and it felt like, beautiful trophy aside, it didn't get anywhere near the amount of praise that it probably should have got, or time. And then, of course, you've got Triple H's speech and Shawn Michaels, which definitely had time. I mean, I haven't done a tally in terms of Triple H versus Mr. T, but it's got to be on a par for one another. I mean, I loved the speeches. There's no denying that Triple H is more than deserving of the Hall of Fame induction in his own right, beyond the one that he got with DX a few years ago. But I would have liked to, as a lifelong Bret Hart guy, I would have liked to have seen Bret and Steve get a bit more time, especially on the night. A little, walking out to the ring, getting that little pop with the music. I know that's not how it's normally done at the Hall of Fame, but I always think that all the Hall of Fame inductees should get their little moment to walk out and get that pop once more from the crowd. Wonderful also to see, obviously, Typhoon, Fred Ottman, and the family of Earthquake, John Tenter, all there as well for the natural disasters induction as well. So a solid crop of Hall of Famers this year. Obviously, there's our own Hall of Fame on Wrestling Life. We've had our first 6 inductees this year, and that's my little way of trying to give back to some of the people that I don't think have maybe received quite as much praise and adulation as they should have received for their comeback. So there is an alternative Hall of Fame if you ever want to check that out as well, all on our YouTube. Night 2. Well, I mean, for me, match of the night was the first match of night 2. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, 15 minutes for a beautifully told triple threat match, and just what a masterclass, especially from Io Sky. She is such a standout talent, and she's missed out on her big WrestleMania moment today. I was so pleased that she got the win. She needs it so much more than Bianca and Rhea, and it was the right decision, and it was a fantastic way to kick off night 2. I was surprised that there was no national anthem on night 1 or night 2, which one can only assume is either a Netflix edict or is a decision by WWE to fully embrace this international model. But it does seem strange, even in these times, to have a WrestleMania without the American national anthem. But that is the new world in which we're living in, of wrestling. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest caught me by surprise. Wasn't expecting much, and then actually when the video package kicked in, I realised, wow, this is a really layered story. I think I saw it on paper and thought that feels a bit thrown together, but actually when you pick apart all of the dynamic from that last year, because we would focus so much on McIntyre and Punk, actually there's this beautiful story being told underneath, and I think WWE did a fantastic job in that package of really setting the scene for this. And I mean, there's no denying the two went out there and gave it their all. I mean, strange ring attire aside for Drew McIntyre, very, very, very solid stuff in terms of a pretty violent street fight. Obviously, McIntyre suffered a pretty bad laceration during the latter stages of that, so very much wearing the wounds of war by the end. But really enjoyed it. Considering they had the second match of the night slot, which is generally the graveyard slot, I think they did a great job, kept the crowd going, and yeah, good stuff. And the good stuff continued with match number 3, so the Intercontinental title Fatal 4-Way, Dominic Mysterio, Bron Breakker, Finn Balor, and Penta. And, well, that crowd only wanted one winner, and boy did they get it. Dirty Dom himself, who... I mean, wow, I remember being at Clash at the Castle in Cardiff in 2022 for his heel turn, and, you know, everyone was just so down on Dominic Mysterio at the time, and he is just, I mean, he's been the standout star of wrestling for the last few years, the ultimate character. He's fantastic, and if anyone deserves a reward for hard work, it's him, and I'm really, really excited to see what he can do with the Intercontinental Championship now. That pop was phenomenal. That's a pop from wrestling fans who weren't just being subversive, but they were recognising and appreciating effort. And I think we're all really excited as a character what he can do now and how he's going to grow as a worker. So absolutely the right decision. I do hope that this leads to Finn Balor breaking off now and the Judgment Day dissolving and Finn Balor being able to finally come back to being the upper level star that he was for so long. But I'm excited for it. Bron Breakker just is a machine. He's incredible. Great outing for Penta too. Just, you know, often with these fatal 4-way matches, it feels like people get lost in the shuffle, but I thought that was booked beautifully. 10 minutes, just about right. And obviously the right man won for that crowd. And talking to crowd pleasers for next night, there was obviously a lot of speculation for match 4, Randy Orton and his mystery opponent after Kevin Owens suffered his injury. Now, my money was on a returning Miro. My friend's money was on Aleister Black. My other friend said Joe Hendry, and he was right. We said his name, and he appeared, and much more so than the Royal Rumble, where I felt like we got an entrance and that was it. This time we got a good few minutes. We got some real respect. He got his moment. He got his proper walk down. And he got, you know, we all knew who was going to win, but he got a few moments and he made them count. And that RKO is one of the best RKOs I've ever seen. That was tremendous. With it, just shout out to how brilliant WWE are for production. So I loved it. Really, really great to see Joe in there with Randy Orton, that show of respect. And I just want to see more. Just want to see more Joe in WWE. So I'm all for it. Less appealing to me was Logan Paul and AJ Styles. Not saying this was a bad match. I don't think either of those men are necessarily capable of a bad match, but just didn't really hit the mark for me. Sometimes matches don't. It's hard to say why. Probably have people that really disagree with me here, but just didn't catch fire for me. I couldn't see anything other than Logan Paul winning. I think he's on such a trajectory. I mean, SummerSlam's in Cleveland in 2026. I'd be very surprised if a certain Cleveland native isn't either Universal WWE champion or world champion there, or in the mix for the world title. I mean, I think we all know at some point he's going to be the top dog in WWE. Solid stuff. I do still feel like AJ Styles hasn't quite had that match at WrestleMania, that like show-stealing match that we all expect the Phenomenal One to have. I think probably the closest was the Boneyard match with The Undertaker during the pandemic. I still want to see that match with AJ Styles. Good, but not great, in my opinion. I'm still working my way towards appreciating Logan Paul and trying to look over him as an individual, and can I actually like really get with this guy? Maybe one day. Tag team match for return of Becky Lynch, which was wonderful to see. Obviously, we all saw her at the Hall of Fame. We knew she was in Vegas, but to see her back in the ring after a year was wonderful. You could tell it meant a lot to her. Picking up the win and the tag team championships with Lyra Valkyria, defeating Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Obviously, the right decision. We knew it was going to happen. But where do we go from here? It's another one of those tag teams which has been thrown together by circumstance. So, will Becky lift up Lyra? Will this be a short-lived thing? Where does Becky go from here? Is she back to a full-time schedule? Was it just to get the pop? We shall see. And then the main event, of course, the last time was now. The last time was WrestleMania 41 for John Cena. Would he make it 17 world championships? Would he bypass the Nature Boy as the most prolific world champion of all time? And the answer is yes. He did beat John Cena with a bit of help from Travis Scott. We got the heel John Cena run that we've been waiting for. And it hasn't felt so far since that incredible heel turn at Elimination Chamber. It hasn't really felt like the Cena thing has really hit the mark. Now he's a world champion and the chase has passed. Can he really come into his own as this egotistical world champion? And of course, who can possibly dethrone him? Or is he going to retire with the world title? So it was the right decision. I'm really with that kind of partisan crowd, and with this being so much anti-COVID sentiment on that particular night. Is a heel turn on the cards for the American Nightmare? Who knows? But I'm really excited to see what comes next. So yeah, John Cena is world champion. Night 2 goes off the air. That's WrestleMania. Was it a hit or a miss? And I think for me, more hit than miss. But will it go down as one of those truly great WrestleManias of all time? I don't think so. I think for me, there was some solid outings, few special moments, but it was missing that certain something that makes a WrestleMania truly legendary and immortal. Where would I rate it? I think probably a solid 3.5 out of 5. Not my favourite WrestleMania by country mile. Definitely not the worst. It's going to take a lot to beat WrestleMania 27, in my opinion. But I'd love to hear what you all thought of it. Drop some comments in the below. And if you can, subscribe to the channel, Wrestling Life Online. If you haven't already, check out us as a podcast as well. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, on Audible. Over 50 episodes in the bank already. Some great names coming up from TNA and WWE very, very soon. And I'm here for much more of this. If you want a positive spin on the world of wrestling, then I'm your man. So this has been Ben Veal. It's been Wrestling Life with my hit or miss of WrestleMania 41. See ya.